Hey everybody, I got a treat for you for today. I am actually interviewing the owners of Tiny Cupboard. If you put this in your information, it's a hilarious stand-up comic. I actually came across them basically on what is it? Times Out magazine. They had a thing about it and they were talking about it. So I figured let me check them out. Um, and I looked at their Instagram, looked at their website, and this is hilarious. I figured, let's see if I can get them on an interview with them. And actually, Amy and Matt took me up on it, so I am looking forward to interview them tonight. And hopefully, you guys will all enjoy this interview. Have a wonderful day. Hi, I have Amy and Matt of the Tiny Cupboard Cup Cupboard with me today for this interview series on how they got started. And the reason I actually started doing these series is to actually to highlight businesses to the public, so that way they can find out actually how they got started, and you can learn from them. So that way you can go and get them, bring them your business. Uh, Amy and Matt, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Spencer. It's good to be here.
Thank you. So I read a lot about the tiny cupboard, and I'm going to ask you guys, what exactly is a tiny cupboard?
So
Yeah.
right now we are a rooftop comedy club. But we started as an events business in a tiny studio room.
Okay.
And that was like our venue space, and we were doing music and comedy like once a week in there.
Yeah.
And other things.
Yep. And now we have now our main spaces are rooftop and like a storefront, a new storefront. So we have
Wow.
rooftop and storefront interconnected, and they both are like for comedy. Right now, it's just comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Comedy.
how do you guys get your guests?
Oh,
who's doing the entertaining? Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So how do we get the entertainers or the guests? Oh, okay. Both. Yeah. So in terms of performers, when we started doing comedy shows in 2019, and originally it was like I just posted in a Facebook group and I was like, hey, comedians, like it was a group of comedians. I was like, hey guys, I'm looking to run a show. I didn't know anything. I was just like, anyone who wants to perform, come reach out to me. And we've come a long way since that, because that was like very not filtered. And I was like, we just take any comedian.
Yeah.
But now it's more like, from that first show, we built a little bit of a network, because like it was actually a lot easier to get comedians to come on it than we thought, because they're really eager for stage time.
Mm-hmm. So they'll perform anywhere.
Yeah, a lot of them will perform anywhere. And so it was really easy to like fill up, get 5 or 6 comedians a night. Mm-hmm. And so by the time that several months, in 2019 and 2020, early 2020, that was enough for us to meet our first like 50 comedians.
Oh, wow.
And then from there, we went on Zoom after March 2020. But we kept going with these virtual comedy shows. Mm-hmm. And then we kept meeting more and more comics. And then we started to know like, this is who's funny. This is who's not funny.
Yeah.
And like, this is who we want to do more shows with. Mm-hmm. And now it's more like we just meet people because for the comedians, we just like we pick the ones we like, we have them produce their own shows, and we just kind of like spiral that over and over, and then we meet a bunch of people like through like their connections, and it's just a whole thing. So that's how we meet the comics. And then the best way has been just like comics, they produce their own shows at our venue. Okay. And then we make like good connections through who they have on, and they often know people that we like. They're often like one step away from like a more famous comic or something. So it's like, we've had some big comics on there, but we wouldn't have got them if we'd reached out to them ourselves. It's only been possible because we like found a smaller comic who actually knows the bigger comic and then asked them to be on that show.
Yeah.
And then we meet that comic and then et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Yeah, the biggest comics we had was probably like Ronnie Chang, who has a Netflix special.
And a correspondent on The Daily Show and has been in Crazy Rich Asians.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We've had a few other people like on that level too. In terms of audience, how do we get audience? It's been a lot of it's word of mouth, but the word of mouth wouldn't be possible if we didn't like spend on Facebook ads, Google ads, Instagram ads.
But we did get most of them through our Zoom shows during the shutdown.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So the Zoom shows, we really built a following. I mean, there's been a lot of different avenues, but meetup.com, Airbnb experience, now something called Fever, our Zoom audience that we built like amidst like 2020. Advertising definitely helps a lot, but then I feel like it only helps because we have this kind of word of mouth thing in place, and it's a really cool experience. So like you're on a rooftop and you're like doing this underground thing in Brooklyn, and you want to tell people about it, and the advertising kind of just like pours fuel to that flame, you know. Yeah, so there's a lot of different like working parts, and then sometimes we get lucky and we get like a journalist that reaches out to us, but it's only because we have all these other systems in place, like the ads and the word of mouth, and like and then it's a really cool experience.
Okay. I think you probably answered it, but I'm going to ask anyway. How did you guys actually come up with the idea for this? I know that you guys said something about it.
Yeah. Do you want to answer?
I think it just started with us just wanting to take our, like, because we both had an online business and we just both wanted to do something offline. So, yeah, and it started with like we were in our neighborhood and we saw like this guy who had like his own like retail space, but he also lived there too. So he like lived downstairs or something, and so we were trying to look for something like that where we could like live there and also like throw events and stuff and
have it be like a store or
like,
two.
Be also like a retail space, but also live in space.
Yeah, and I think we just like this idea of like doing things in person instead of doing them online, and I think that's comes out of frustration that we've had with running our own online businesses, and also like it's seeming so easy for some people.
Yeah.
But despite us trying everything and pouring thousands of dollars into it, and maybe getting a little bit of like results from that, but like not enough to be exciting. And then also like with the online business, it's like we're not even meeting. It's like the lifestyle wasn't that good because it's like
we were just behind a screen.
Yeah, it's like
and like
I realized I think there was a big shift like when I realized that I didn't even want to do an online business. Like I've been sucked into this world thinking that that's what I wanted because everyone was saying it's so cool, passive income, work from home, and etc. But I don't even like want an online business anymore. I'd rather just have something, be physically present with people, and like throw cool, awesome events where we can like meet tons of really interesting people, and it can be like a huge part of our social life as well.
Wow,
that's more exciting, and we've gotten better results from it. Much better.
Yeah.
So how did it go into the tiny cupboard doing performing?
Yeah, sure. Well, basically we started out just renting out venues in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And then throwing events like there, but it was really expensive. So it wasn't sustainable to do it like that. So then we were like, okay, let's find a space to like live and work from so that we can at least like have the rent covered and like
smart idea
and have the event space there. We couldn't find that. It was too expensive. Or it would either be too commercial or it'd be too residential.
Yeah. So it didn't really work.
Yeah, but we did find an art studios, and that was like, oh, this could work. Like, if we look at different art studios, we can kind of do anything there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea was that we just turned an art studio into an event space, and just a really small studio.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that evolved. Fortunately, we found one that had a big rooftop too, an art studio, and we're like, yeah, we can definitely use this rooftop as well.
Yeah.
So, and that was before the pandemic, but things just kind of really worked out for us because we got the art studio. Immediately we started using it for rooftop stuff, but it wasn't anything that's cool. It was like birthday parties and like shit that we're kind of embarrassed about. But when outdoor gatherings were allowed in July 2020, we started to think about, okay, how can we use this rooftop to produce events? And we had been doing well in the comedy scene on Zoom, so we just took some events to some comedy shows to the rooftop, and that led to us doing like many. Like now we have like 24, or actually it's going to be like almost 40 comedy shows a week. Yeah, which is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. So we've become like, especially because a lot of venues are shut down, and because a lot of venues like have permanently closed, like comedy clubs, especially the ones that are like independent. A lot of those clubs have permanently closed, and there's a kind of gap where like someone has to take the lead in terms of who's going to be the next venue and comedy club to fill the spot of, like, for example, the People's Improv Theater and the Creek and the Cave, which are two like independent run venues. And everyone's kind of looking at us to fill that role.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah.
And so we've become kind of the hub of the independent comedy scene in New York City, which has been really cool. And we never thought we
didn't think we would grow to this point.
So how many, what's a packed house right now for you guys?
On the rooftop, it's a really big rooftop. So packed will be like 50, 60. But we can have more than that. Like once we're allowed to do 100% capacity in the rooftop, that'll be more like 200.
Wow.
But right now, 50, 60, that's a lot of people, especially for now. And it's outdoor, it's socially distanced, masks required, and stuff like that.
Wow.
But it's 60 people-ish that'll feel like a really great show.
It already feels really packed with 60 people.
Yeah.
So you guys also selling drinks there, or they bring their own food, or?
Right now, it's kind of more like bring your own stuff.
Okay. Just because we're trying to work on a liquor license, so we can't sell anything.
Yeah. We're trying to get a liquor license, and hopefully we can get that. That'll definitely change. That'll make it even better for us.
Yeah.
We're so new, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're sustainable kind of already without a liquor license, which is a good sign. But it'll be really nice if we got a liquor license.
Yeah.
Are you guys doing your own performance? I mean, putting yourself aside in there to do a performance?
Oh no.
Not really. No.
Yeah.
Neither of us really even want to be.
We've never even had the thought of being a comedian. We just enjoy comedy.
Okay.
I might have had the thought like 10 years ago, but I haven't had a thought any time recently.
Okay. What are you guys doing? I guess for reading. You guys reading any good books? Anything?
Oh yeah, that's funny. We're both really into our Kindles right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I read all the time.
I actually just started getting into reading again because like the Kindle is so like easy to use and great.
Yeah. We got our. Do you have it right here? I don't know.
So what a couple books you guys recommend?
So I just read stuff I read whatever. It's my recommendations will be really obscure because everything I read is like, I want to figure out this problem about this specific issue, and it's not gonna even. It would be too like. I wouldn't even recommend it for anyone. You know what I mean? Like I want to figure out how to like, I read a lot of just like books that are short ebooks on Amazon that are come on my Kindle, but it might be like how to use Meetup to like get more people to your events, which I wouldn't recommend to anyone anyone unless you're like really interested in that.
Yeah, and I'm a little embarrassed. Well, not really, but a little bit. I'm reading like young adult fiction right now, but most of them are like Asian authors, so I'm trying to like support them and like just because like when I was growing up, I never even knew that there were Asian authors out there. So
yeah.
What did you guys talk about the challenges you guys had to for getting the tiny cupboard on up and going or through?
Yeah, well, you know what? It started out as more of like a hobby, really.
Yeah.
When we were first doing events in 2019, it was like we did like two events a week. And we didn't really rely on it for our income. It was just like sometimes we did more. We did a couple other things beside music and comedy. We did like virtual reality too, and then some other stuff.
Yeah.
But it was more just like whatever we get in terms of tickets, or like if people buy or rent from us or whatever, then we'll show up. But if not, like whatever, the rent is really low there at this art studio, and that's one of the pluses. Like it didn't take a lot for us to break even, and that's what we were doing all of 2019 was just breaking even, and that was like enough. Even if we lost a little bit of money, it wouldn't have hurt that much.
Yeah, we were just trying to make enough to pay the rent back.
Yeah, and then I think where it became more serious was when we went on Zoom, actually. And then we started, then we're like, okay, let's use this as an opportunity. Everything was shut down. So let's use this as an opportunity to like,
to go back online again.
Fine. Let's like really go, like, let's do this every single day.
Yeah. Like,
and that was a different mindset where it was like, let's do it regardless. We'll do it every day, regardless if maybe one day off or whatever. But
yeah.
Even if no one shows up, we'll do a ton of events.
Wow.
And there's always like a difficulty, like, because you go from like 2 events a week or 1 event a week from like that's more of like a hobby to doing it like full scale, like
like every
event
day
space. And that's a really big jump.
Wow.
But it's like a messy jump too, because some of the shows will be very imbalanced. Like some shows will get 30 people, some shows will get 0 people, but eventually it evens out, and then the shows start being like kind of consistent. And it was also kind of exhausting to make that jump but we weren't doing anything else really, because we were shut down, locked down. So we were like, okay, might as well like lean into this pandemic and kind of like adapt to what everyone else is doing. And because we went on Zoom so early, and because we were like one of the first people to like host virtual events.
Wow.
With the pandemic, I mean, within the first month, we got featured like in the New York Times like several times. We got and then a couple other, like, did we get anything else for Zoom?
No, I think it was just the New York Times feature.
Yeah. So yeah, New York Times featured us for our Zoom events, and then when we went out in real life, we were like one of the first people doing outdoor shows too.
Wow.
So then New York Times featured us there too, and then Time Out, and then like Brooklyn Paper, and like Bushwick Daily, and all these other places. Yeah. And so it was just a matter of like kind of like being one of the first to do something. I think there's a huge advantage there. Like even when it comes to like online business, I think if you're not one of the first, then you're at a really big disadvantage. Yeah. And one of the first means it doesn't have to be like you're number 1, 2, or 3. Yeah. But like you started this business in the first year that this industry emerged. Yeah. If that makes sense. Or like, I don't know. Maybe that's too generic to fit to everything, but like for example, Amy tried to start a cam. Well, she's still trying, but we don't know if it's going to work yet. But another like side business is like this candle business.
Yeah, and I started while everyone and their grandmas already are doing a candle business, so it's like so saturated. So I came in the wrong time.
Yeah, and we're always saying that like timing matters a lot. Like
it does.
If you started this like 5 years ago, it could have been huge.
Yeah.
But because like everyone else, well, not everyone else, but a lot of people already have candle business and it's a saturated market. Now it's like
and they all started during the pandemic too, so it's like
and now it's like a little too late.
It's
and that's how I felt when I used to be in digital marketing. Like when I used to like I was running that business. It's still possible to be successful there, but I felt like I was at a disadvantage because like a lot of the bigger players started 10 years ago, you know. The digital marketing, I think the prime time to get in was maybe like 2010, 2011. Not to say that there's not ways to like differentiate and stuff. And I think especially for you, like you're focusing on local, so that's definitely a good thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I felt like I was at a huge disadvantage there because I was like, essentially I started in 2016 and that's like 5 years late. But for Tiny Cupboard, we didn't really hit the mark until these like randoms, like until like the pandemic gave us an opportunity to like take advantage of an unprecedented opportunity. It leveled out the playing field for us because it's new for everyone. And before the pandemic, we were producing events and it was like, this is going to take a while. But we've learned so much since the pandemic. We've learned so much about like running like a comedy club / like event space. Yeah. And at least that's one good thing that came out of the pandemic.
I've noticed a lot. I mean, there's a lot of things coming out, a lot of good stuff coming out of the pandemic. So, but the thing is, are you guys finished with school? You guys graduated, or?
Yeah, I'm way graduated.
yeah, we're done. I don't think we're going back to school.
Yeah.
I graduated 2016. Amy,
I graduated 2010.
Wow. So. But what degrees did you guys graduate in?
I have an accounting degree.
Okay. So do I. I hate accounting, but
I know I hate it so much. But it's coming in handy now that we're like running a business.
It's better when you do it for yourself.
Yeah.
But I have a philosophy degree.
That'd come in handy.
Yeah, I think it does.
I have one more question. Let's see. What is like your routine from the day since you guys are working from home now? I mean,
yeah. Well, now it's more like we're kind of working. We're not really working from home. We are and we aren't.
Okay.
We live 2 minutes away from where the Tiny Cupboard is. So, and now we have a lot of rooftop shows. So,
wow.
We have to get there by like 5 p.m. every night.
To set up
and like, and then we have like 4 shows back to back from like 5 p.m. through 11.
Wow.
But before that, our morning routine is we sleep till 1.
That's good.
Because I mean, everyone talks about like it's like good to be an early riser. It's like you got to wake up early and whatever. But we run a night business, and that doesn't work. We're also like we're exhausted. You know, we're like
we don't get home until like 11:30 or midnight, and then we just want to
relax.
We want to relax
a little bit. You know,
and,
So it just doesn't not like the same thing doesn't work for everyone. So for us, we need sleep. We will not sacrifice. And especially if we're working so hard, we just need a lot of sleep.
We need.
So I don't know. Usually we'll wake up maybe between 10 and 1.
Yeah. For me, it's usually 1. Matt is a little better.
Yeah, I mean, some it'll be if we're less worked, like if we're less tired, and exhausted, then we'll wake up earlier than that. But
Yeah.
lately, we've been waking up late because we're very exhausted.
Mm.
Can you guys expand on the working hard? I mean, trying to figure out like what is it that you guys do? You guys just set up and then clean up. So
Well, yeah, I mean, we used to actually.
Sorry, I
Sure.
just want to get some clarification.
Well, that's one part of it. Is we set up the stage, which involves like carrying a bunch of shit up to the rooftop, and then there's gonna be 4 shows, and then we have to clean up.
We have to be there just to make sure things are running smoothly.
Yeah. So we manage the floor.
Yeah,
we
manage
make
the
sure that
floor.
the comics get there. We make sure the audience finds their way. We make sure like we do the door a little bit, so like we get tickets. We do a little bit of like making sure everyone's on time so that the shows don't spill over too much.
And I mean, since we're there, we
have a beard.
That's my daughter.
And since we're there, we kind of have to watch a little bit of the shows, and even that is really exhausting to just like watch comedy for like 6 hours.
Yeah, and then there's also like tons of people always like trying to get their own show with us.
Yeah, so then we have a lot of like texts and emails that we have to respond to, and
but I mean that's what happens during the show. But then before the show, let's say between 12 noon and like 5 p.m. we have to do all the marketing and like all of the website
updating the website,
and
responding to people,
responding to emails, responding to all these producers who want to like do a show.
Yeah,
with
updating
us.
our schedule, our calendar.
So it's kind of like nonstop. It's just like from the moment we wake up, we have to do something on our laptops, and then finally, like we usually I don't know, like there's so much more. There's always so much more to do, but we have to like draw a line somewhere. So we'll do something, then we'll go to the show, and then we'll get home like I don't know, like 11, 12, and that's usually it. But in between that, there's also time for like we'll try to make time to work out, and like hopefully on a good day I have my calendar here, so on a good day we might like work out, and like we'll definitely read, and just like relax a little bit and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you guys thought about getting sponsors for your show, or you guys have those?
Only for festivals, but the shows are paid, so we make enough money from the shows anyway, and we think, I mean, if it's the right fit, maybe, but we're not going after it because the thing about the sponsors is that they'll like our brand is really important, and we want to preserve that, so we don't want a sponsor if it's gonna like if they're gonna like control if it's now it's gonna be their show, you know what I mean?
We want to have control of everything.
Awesome.
So if it's the right sponsor and they're doing the right thing, then maybe, but it's not really something that's that interesting to us unless it's like maybe a festival.
Sounds good.
Which we do have a couple festivals planned.
Tell me about the festivals, or it hasn't come up yet.
We have a couple. We have the Asian Comedy Festival. We have
in May, and then
Black Women Comedy Festival. And then we have a big summer rooftop festival. It's similar to just like what a regular show is, but it's just more like themed, and then it's more of like a all day event. So it's like it could start in the afternoon and go all the way through the night, and there might be like special headliners from out of state. But we haven't done any yet, so we're just kind of like we're currently in the middle of like marketing and preparing for all those.
Okay. I'm gonna end this, but before I go, can you guys give some information? I'm gonna put a little thing at the end for you guys, but if you guys want to say something, give out your information.
Sure. Check us out.
We have a website. It's thetinycupboard.com, and we're also on Instagram at thetinycupboard, and we're also on Facebook and Twitter.
Any last word for anybody?
No, check us out. Come to a show, and we're usually there, so you can meet us. It's very, the vibe is like, it's a funny show first of all, but it's also like it's not like a regular comedy club because like you're not paying $30 and 2 drinks to be there. You can go there for free or for $5 or for $7.
Yeah.
For $10.
Yeah.
It's more of like a hangout. You don't have to drink anything. It's like it's just like a very chilled vibe, and a lot of people like that because it's just a great way to socialize with not a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and it's more welcoming and just like affordable, and
you can watch a show, you can hang out, you can see the view, like whatever. It's great for dates. It's great for just friends. It's great for everything. So
I'm gonna try to make it out there to see you guys.
Awesome,
great,
let us know when you're coming.
I would definitely will. So everybody, I am gonna close this. Let me